Hi everyone, today I want to talk to you about harm OCD. So first of all, harm OCD is a very common type of OCD. And harm OCD is usually intertwined with false memory OCD. Not always, but in today's video we're gonna talk about both cases. So sometimes harm has to do with what if I harmed somebody in the past and forgot about it or whatever, right? Or what if one day I will harm somebody? So two of those things, right? But again, the underlying thing that it has to do with harm. And it may seem really, really scary and the topics may seem very disturbing to you, but you always have to remember that harm OCD is, if not the most common type of OCD, right? So a lot of people are experiencing the same thing and nobody has acted out on those things that they're experiencing. So it's it's not the thoughts that are important, it's your reaction to the thoughts. You know, they did a study, one of the major universities did a study, and they asked people, two groups. One group had OCD and one didn't. And it was a pretty large study, and the group that didn't have OCD, when they asked them, do you get these thoughts, do you get those thoughts, do you get harm thoughts, whatever, they said the same exact thing as the group with OCD. So both had the exact same thoughts, but what was really different is the reaction to those thoughts. That the group that didn't have OCD, they just took them as a silly thought and it didn't put a label on it, they didn't put value in it. While the people who had OCD, they thought, well, what does this mean about me? Well, does that mean I'm a bad person? Why would I have these thoughts? What if it actually happened? Let me think about it, all of this stuff, right? While the person who doesn't have OCD, they'd just be like, oh, whatever. So say, for example, a person is driving and they think they hit something, right? The person who has OCD has to make sure that they didn't hit something, while the person who doesn't have OCD would say, whatever, I don't think I hit anything. Look back once and that's it, if that, right? So the thought in the beginning was the same, but the reaction was very, very different. So, and because your reaction is very strong to these kinds of thoughts, it starts to give you more vivid images, more what ifs. Because your mind, remember that the reason why your mind is sending you these thoughts is because your mind sees how disturbed you are by them, and it wants to protect you. So it thinks that this thought that you're having, that part of the mind doesn't understand that it has to do with harm or whatever. It just understands that here's a thought, you find it very important, you find it very scary, so let's send this thought but make it more vivid, to make it more kind of realistic, to get you to be scared so you react. Your mind actually wants you to be scared because your mind wants you to react to these thoughts. And the more you react, the more your mind sends it to you. So it's a snowball effect that just keeps growing and growing and growing and becoming more vivid and increasing in size. So not fearing the fact that it has to do with harm. Your OCD can take on any form. It can be about false memory, future harm, religion, I don't know, something sexual. It's something to do with cleaning, something to do with medical health. It can be anything, you know. So it's just about reaction. The more you react, the worse these things will get. And the fact that it has to do with harm is no different than any other type of OCD. The reason why you're having harm OCD and the reason why you have any type of OCD, I'll explain this very quickly. I kind of went over it in other videos, but it's important to bring it up, is whatever you care about the most, whatever triggers you the most as an individual is what you will react to, but in the opposite way. Okay, so if you are a very good person and the last thing you can possibly imagine is harming somebody, then you will attach to the harm OCD. If you are a very religious person and offending your religion is the worst possible thing, then your mind will attach to that. If, say, your family is the most important thing to you, somehow hurting your family would get attached. So it finds the thing that you care about the most and then turns it against you. So the fact that you're having these thoughts does not make you likely to actually act on it. And if it has to do with false memory rather than the future, right? Then again, it doesn't mean that anything actually happened. Because you're doubting it. You're saying, you're listening to this show right now. Again, I've already went over this last week with the false memory OCD stuff, right? But it's, if you're doubting a thought as a false memory, meaning, is this OCD or is this not OCD? When we actually act badly or, regret the things that we've done, we don't question them being as OCD. If you think back to something you've done in the past that you're not proud of, that you regret doing, you don't think, well, maybe it was an OCD thing, maybe it wasn't real. Let me try to figure out if it was real or not. No, you know for the fact that it was real. You might not remember all the details, but you know it was real. With this, you're doubting, and that makes it OCD. But the feelings become so strong, the images become so real with the false memory type of harm OCD, right? That it's hard to tell the difference. And the trick is not to play the game. The trick is not to try to figure it out, not to check, not to get any kind of reassurance. Because the more reassurance you get, the more you're training your mind that this is important. And the more you train your mind that this is important, the more thoughts you're going to get. So not playing the game, saying, no, I'm not doing this anymore. I've done it for a long time. It's not working, so let's go the other way and let's try to not react to these thoughts. And you will see that as you reduce the reaction to them, as you reduce the energy you're giving them, they start to fade away. And as they fade away, you do see that they were nothing to begin with. So you do get that reassurance in the end. But if you start to try to reduce the anxiety of every thought, then it becomes a problem, because the more you try to reduce the anxiety, the more you're saying to your mind that I'm scared, I don't want to have these thoughts because they're very scary. Your mind doesn't understand why you're scared, so it sends you more thoughts to prevent you from whatever it is you're scared about this thought. So it's trying to bring it to your attention, and then you're saying you're scared again. So, this kind of ping pong doesn't work, right? It's better to say, I'm not scared, these are just silly thoughts, they're not gonna, not giving it a reaction. And then I promise you, they will go away. Because there's no actual reason for these thoughts to be in your mind other than OCD. So as soon as you start to remove OCD from the equation, they will start to fade. As soon as you stop powering it up, I mean, But again, it doesn't work instantly. It takes time, because if you repeat it to your mind that this is important for so long, it's going to take some time to undo. It's not going to be instant. So if you're disregarding the thought after paying attention to it for months and months, now you started to disregard it for a week and you say, well, I'm not feeling better yet. Well, yeah, because you've been teaching your mind that these thoughts are important for months, and now for a week you've been doing the right thing, which is great, but it takes a lot more repetition than that. It doesn't take actually the same amount of time to repeat the right thing as the amount of time that you repeated the wrong thing, but it has to be a significant amount of time for your mind to get it. It does depend on how long you've had this thought in the first place as well, this type of theme, right? But, I would say that usually if people start to do the right thing and really power down on the refusing to pay attention, I would say 6 months is a very good amount of time to fully recover. And that's if the person is really focused and just going through it. And, that's kind of what I usually see with people recovering. But it doesn't mean that you will be struggling for the full 6 months and then after 6 months, bam, you're recovered all of a sudden. It's a gradual effect that every month you feel better and better and better and better. So I hope this video helps. If you have any questions, you can always find me at youhaveocd.com. There's a private recovery program there with me. There's also ebooks, there's articles, there's a lot of resources to help you recover from OCD. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.